Hi there. Did you know that you can become part owner of companies out there by simply purchasing their stocks? Yes, you heard it right. You can become part owner of companies out there by purchasing their stocks, and even you might be entitled to get dividends as and when they are declared. That's what I'm going to be discussing in this video. How you can go about investing in stocks this year and beyond. And for my point of reference, I'm going to be referencing the situation in Kenya, whereby at the center of it, I'm going to be talking about the Nairobi Securities Exchange and also what you need to do to go about investing in stocks. And this is also replicable in multiple other countries out there. You are all much welcomed to the Money Daily YouTube channel. I'm yours, Afagza Sifuna. By the way, if you're new, remember to subscribe and also drop a like on this video because it really helps. Having said that, there is a mechanism with which companies source funds out there, in essence, through you investing by purchasing a particular company's stock or share out there, and then you're gonna be part of ownership of that company. And to ensure there's any form of regulation out there, countries have different exchanges out there, whether it is securities exchange or even stock exchange. You find, for example, a country has XYZ stock exchange or XYZ securities exchange, which in essence are the same, only that securities exchange have more offerings beyond stocks. Because securities exchange out there have, for example, stocks, have, for example, bonds, have, for example, REITs, which is the real estate investment trusts, have, for example, mutual funds, indices, just to mention a few things. In Kenya specifically, you can purchase stocks of different companies out there as and of when they are traded or listed in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And by the way, Nairobi Securities Exchange is one of the biggest securities exchange in Africa. In fact, it is ranked 5th in the continent of Africa, only after the Johannesburg Securities Exchange in South Africa, the Nigerian Securities Exchange, the Casablanca Securities Exchange in Morocco, and the Egyptian Securities Exchange. Nairobi Securities Exchange comes 5th, and of course it has been in existence for many decades. And as we're speaking right now, we have 64 companies listed in the Nairobi Securities Exchange, meaning you can purchase stocks or even different offerings of these companies because they are listed in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And the good thing is that you, as the potential investor, has power to decide which securities you want to purchase. In essence, you decide which stocks do you want to purchase, because all stocks are not really the same. And I'm saying so because different companies out here perform differently. That's why the Nairobi Securities Exchange gives you different kind of sectors in which you can invest. And we're talking about, for example, companies in, for example, manufacturing, right? Companies in, for example, insurance. Companies in, for example, banking. Companies in, for example, automobile. Companies in, for example, commercial services. Companies in, for example, telecommunication. Companies in, for example, agriculture. You name it. The Nairobi Securities Exchange puts forth different sectors. In fact, over 10 different sectors in which you can partake as an investor by purchasing securities of the listed companies. I know you might be wondering, why is it important in the first place to be a part owner of a company? I'm going to give you 3 reasons as to why it is significant for you to consider investing in stocks this year and beyond. Of course, from the face of it, people invest so as to gain from the fluctuations in price of different stocks out there, right? Because as I mentioned, companies behave differently or perform differently in the market. There are those which are growing rapidly. In essence, you could find even that stocks also are increasing in price because of company performance. Also, in case a company is declining, okay? Take, for example, in case there's negative news in the market with regards to a company's management may be performing badly or even engaging in violation of corporate governance, you're gonna most likely see the stocks of that particular company declining, right? And that's how companies perform out there. So people actually benefit through the fluctuation of prices in the stock market, in the security markets out there. And just to share with you some light, also need to understand there's actually two forms of investors in any securities exchange. Of course, all this is based on regulation of any country. We have those who invest in essence for the long term and also those who trade. And trading is actually a form of investing in which someone opens a position and closes it within a short span of time. Think about it. For example, someone purchasing a given share or a given stock of a company, maybe today in the morning, and then come evening, they sell it off. That person is an investor, yes, but they are actually day trading. And the good thing, for example, even in Kenya, we saw the Nairobi Securities Exchange allow the option for people to trade about 3 years ago. We're talking about 2019. Even though over the past 2 years or so, we've been having discussions around the fees relating to day trading being quite exorbitant, but this is something the Nairobi Securities Exchange and the Capital Market Authority have been working on. Actually, this tells you you have an option whether to invest for the long term or even to trade in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. It is upon you to decide. But in essence, people out here invest in stocks or even trade in stocks essentially for three reasons. And actually, these are reasons which you need to consider when you're thinking about jumping in stock or not. The very first important thing is you investing in stocks is also a form of saving. I know you might be wondering, why is that the case? I'm saying so because traditionally, analysis have shown that those kind of stable stocks in the market, which are picked randomly, in aggregate, when someone has a portfolio, we're talking about an annual return of about 8 to 10%, right? Similarly, you're talking about, for example, in case you put your money out there in a commercial bank, you might get somewhere between maybe 3 to 7% per annum in case you have fixed deposit account. So you investing in the stock market, more so in case utilizing the portfolio concept, is an alternative to you traditionally saving money in the bank, which I think is a cool thing. Okay? And the second reason, to which I've already alluded to, is actually a possibility of you increasing your money, right? People out here invest in stocks for them to be able to increase their money. And in case someone invests wisely, they might even increase their money to a proportion more than the average return of the market. And then lastly, people invest in stocks out there in order for them to be able to learn how to invest, and also in the course of the investing to be able to form what is the ideal constitute of the portfolio according to them. Because people out here hold portfolios differently, so according to you as an individual investor, what is your ideal investment portfolio? You can only deduce this through investing in the stock market or even in the security exchange. That's the only way you're gonna know which portion of your stock, for example, you need to hold maybe companies in the service sector, which portion in manufacturing, which portion in automobile, and so forth. Even beyond that, for example, just beyond the stocks, maybe considering, can you buy, for example, bonds? Can you even, for example, buy REITs? Can you maybe jump in derivatives? Can you, for example, go for mutual funds, for exchange traded funds, and so forth? You can only deduce all these through partaking in trading, right? So, what do you need to consider when you're thinking about investing in stock market, specifically in Kenya, where you can be able to purchase stocks of different companies out there in the Nairobi Securities Exchange? The very first thing you need to do or have in mind is that you need to open a CDS account. What is a CDS account? Is actually an account which is actually the Central Deposit Settlement Account. And this is actually run by the Central Deposit and Settlements Corporation in Kenya, which has the mandate to clear and settle any securities which are traded through capital markets out there. So it is according to the law that for you to partake in trading or even investing in any security, in any stock out there in the Nairobi Securities Exchange, you need to have a CDS account. And by the way, this is a very simple thing. We're talking about a thing that's going to take you minutes to activate. You need to register and then activate your account. And by the way, for registration, it's as straightforward as it gets. You just need passport photos, you need your KRA PIN, you need your national ID, you need a proof of income in case, for example, you're a foreigner, and also you need to input your residential address. With this, you are ready to go. And the good thing is that this process is actually automated. So we're talking about a thing that's gonna take you a few minutes to open, and you're gonna be way on course to actually trading or investing in stocks in Kenya. And then the second thing which you need to consider is actually go out there and research, read on the different fees and charges which you're going to be charged with each transaction you do at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. What do I mean? Guys, assuming, for example, a stock of company X, let me say, for example, a stock of Safaricom, maybe it's going at, for example, 30 Kenya shillings, okay? The price rises to, let me say, 40 Kenya shillings. It doesn't mean that you as an investor, you're going to be able to cash out 10 shillings extra beyond what you invested in that particular stock. That is not always the case. And that's so because there are always fees which are charged per transaction. With each transaction you do, there's fees which actually go to different entities out there, to different regulators. For example, there are those fees which are charged, for example, by the NSE, the Nairobi Securities Exchange. We have fees which are charged, for example, by the Capital Market Authority, CMA. We have fees which are charged by the CDSC. We have actually just different fees out there. So do research to know what kind or what portion of your gains is going to go to the NSE. What portion of your gain is going to go to the CMA? What portion of your gain is going to go to the Central Deposit and Settlements Corporation? Do that research because it's going to be very important. And even beyond that, which kind of fee are you going to be charged, for example, by investment banks out there or brokers out there in case you opt to use brokers to assist you do the trading or even do the investment at the NSE, right? And then the third thing which you need to consider as you're looking to delving into investing in stocks in Kenya is actually you choosing the assets you wanna invest in. And this video is about stock market, but given the country and also the exchange platform has much more to offer, you have, for example, stocks, right? You have bonds, right? You have REITs, which are the real estate investment trusts. You have mutual funds. You have indices. It's a lot of offering in the market. So you decide which assets do you want to jump into and start investing in. And by the way, for you to decide this, you need to do two things. You need to do technical analysis and also fundamental analysis. Technical analysis is actually you as an investor or even a proxy of yours looking at how trends are there in the market based on charts, based on some simple arithmetic behind the scene. For example, you're doing some moving averages out there that try and depict what the trends have been over some time, so that through this charting, you can be able to make an informed decision with regards to which are the better stocks for you to jump into, right? And so forth. And even beyond this is only as much as a chart or even historical prices can reveal. So beyond this, you also need to do something called fundamental analysis. In essence, you analyzing the news, right? News out there relating to how the company is performing, what the future outlook of the company is like in the market, right? News relating to management of a company. Are the managers in the company good managers, or even or maybe they might be having issues relating to corporate governance, okay? You doing, for example, what is the company all about? What is the company planning to invest in? And so forth. Actually, it's upon you to decide what fundamental or news out there are you consuming. Then you put these two together. Technical analysis, which is actually you charting, together with fundamental analysis, and then you decide if an asset or a stock is good for you to jump in or not. So you do technical analysis, fundamental analysis, and then have a slight sense with regards to which assets do you want to jump into in the Nairobi Securities Exchange, because the exchange gives you many assets which you can jump into, stocks and so forth. And even for stocks themselves, we're talking about over 50 plus companies which are listed in the platform, which actually have their stocks traded day in, day out. And of course, it is always advisable. Be wise while choosing the stocks you want to jump into for investing or trading. And I'm saying so because the market actually constitutes 95% noise traders. These are the kind of traders who buy stocks blindly without doing any form of analysis. You don't want to be part of that statistic, because in aggregate, you're going to end up being disappointed. But if you buy those stocks which you have know-how on, what the company is all about, how they've been performing over time and so forth, you're most likely going to be making informed decision with regards to which stocks to invest in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And by the way, guys, matters relating to technical analysis and fundamental analysis are also applicable in other financial instruments out there, just beyond stocks. For example, they're applicable, for example, in forex market, applicable in cryptocurrency market, and so forth. If you master how to do this analysis, you're gonna be set to go. But the anchoring thing is invest wisely. Don't invest blindly. To give you an example, someone out there, for example, might have interest in telecommunication sector, right? They might go right up front and jump into buying Safaricom shares, buying telecom shares, and so forth, because they assume just because there are big companies, most likely their stocks are going to increase in value, which unfortunately is not the case. In fact, in any security market out there, it is small companies which usually have high margins. And that's so because they still have a huge room to grow compared to big, established, more stable companies out there. So do an analysis before deciding whether to jump to a stock which is maybe anchored by a big company, or even to buy stock of a small company. And at the end of the day, any company is good to go as long as you have done your work and you understand which are the good stocks or the good assets out there to invest in. And then you also need to decide which broker are you going to go with to assist you actually go about trading in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. At the moment, the market is not that open per se. You have to go through a broker or even an investment bank which also acts as a broker for you to be able to purchase any security in the market. I hope in the near future, with the increased automation, people will be able to execute their own trades from remotely wherever they are without engaging brokers. But at the moment, that is how the market is set. So choose which broker do you want to engage. And by the way, there is a very formidable list of those approved and registered brokers in the country. Don't be conned. There's some people out there, for example, portraying themselves as brokers out there, yet they're not. So choose a good broker, and they're going to advise you well on the market. And also, you're going to be clear with regards to what their fee is. Because brokers out here, investment banks out here, charge different fees per transaction. After you've done all this, you've opened a CDS account, right? You've done your research with regards to what fees are charged by different authorities in the country. That's the NSC, the CMA, the Central Deposit and Settlement Corporation. And also, after you've done your own analysis to know which assets are good to go with, you've also chosen a broker to go with. The fifth and the last thing which you need to do is actually invest or start trading in stocks in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And I'm saying so because actually when it comes to investing, the sooner you begin, the better. Of course, don't begin blindly. Begin after doing your homework across all these things I've talked about. But once you've reached a particular point for which I've talked about, the fifth and the last point you need to consider is actually to start investing. And the good thing when it comes to investing in stocks is that no amount of money is little in the stock market. Each and every shilling you're putting in there, each and every dollar you're putting in there is actually going to contribute towards assisting you achieve the much elusive financial freedom. And the good thing is that it is actually a learning process at the end of the day. The sooner you start, the more you're going to learn, and actually the more you're going to be ahead of the competition when it comes to understanding matters around investing, around how stock market behaves, and also around how you can profit from the stock market. So start as soon as possible and start with whichever amount of money you have. Don't wait, for example, to have tens of millions for you to start investing in the stock market. Start as soon as you can. I know for the Kenyan Security Exchange, there's no option of, for example, purchasing fractional shares. But I foresee in the foreseeable future, these are going to be some of the good options in the market, where beyond allowing the individual investor to trade without using a broker, most likely also we're going to have the option of someone engaging in purchase of fractional shares, which, by the way, is happening hugely out there in the world. We have brokers out there who allow people to purchase fractions of shares without even purchasing an entire share. More so in case you're talking about a share or a stock of a given company being very, very expensive, right? But the key is start as soon as possible and you're gonna be on way to profiting in the stock market. What do you think? Have you invested in the stock market in Kenya? If you have, which stocks have you purchased? Share with us in the comment section down below. Also, have you, for example, traded using the Nairobi Securities Exchange? If you have, how has your experience been? Share with us in the comment section down below. Let's continue engaging down there. Thanks a lot for watching this video. I look forward to share with you other awesome videos next time. Bye bye and you all take care.